The city burned, the sky was black, ash fell like rain. Giant buildings, once shining towers of glass and metal, were now nothing but twisted steel. Virex 9 had been a peaceful planet before the war. Now it was dead. Smoke covered everything. Fires spread in the distance. The only sound was wind, and sometimes explosions far away. Captain Daniel Reed moved through the broken street, his boots crunching over glass and metal. His face was covered in dirt. Blood dried on his armor. He held a rifle in one hand, scanning every corner. He wasn't supposed to be here. All human units had been ordered to leave Virex 9. The planet was lost. The enemy had launched a full chemical bombardment the night before. Billions died in hours. The air was still dangerous, but Reed didn't care. He had heard something, a sound, a voice, not loud, not clear, just a whisper. Help. He had stopped moving when he first heard it. His squad was 50 kilometers away, already in orbit. The ship was leaving in less than 2 hours, but he couldn't walk away. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the voice. Maybe it was the way it reminded him of his daughter. She had whispered like that too when Earth was attacked. He hadn't been able to save her, but maybe he could save someone now. Reed climbed over a collapsed wall and entered what was left of an old apartment block. The roof was gone. The second and third floors had crushed down onto the first. Metal beams blocked most of the hallways. Fires still burned in some corners. Something smelled like melted plastic and bone. Then he heard it again. Please, help. It was closer. Reed dropped to his knees and crawled under a half-fallen ceiling. His armor scraped against the concrete. He used his shoulder to push broken metal out of the way. And then he saw her, a small figure covered in dust, thin arms shaking. Her skin was grey-blue like polished stone. She had 2 glowing eyes. She was no more than 6 years old in human age. She was not human. She was an alien child. Reed stared. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She just looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes. Reed lowered his weapon. "It's okay," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "I'm here to help." Of course, she didn't understand English, but she watched him closely. When he took a slow step forward, she curled back, afraid. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said again. He put the rifle on the ground. Then, slowly he took off his helmet. She looked at his face, dirty, tired, but not cruel. She blinked. Then, with trembling fingers, she reached out and touched his hand. Reed felt something crack inside his chest. She was scared, alone, and surrounded by death. No one else would save her. No one else was coming. Reed activated his communicator. "This is Captain Reed. I found a survivor." A voice crackled in his ear. "Sir, extraction team already left. Command said all civilians were dead. Get to the evac point." "She's alive." "She? A child. Alien. But alive." "Sir, there's no time. You stay alone. No backup. You'll die down there." Reed looked at the girl. Her small hand still held his finger. "Understood," he said, and turned off his comm. He lifted her gently. She flinched but didn't fight. She was light, like a feather, starving, weak. She had burns on her arms and legs. Her clothes were torn, and her skin had small, glowing cuts, signs of chemical exposure. "We'll get you out," he whispered. She didn't answer, but her head rested on his chest. Reed moved quickly. But the streets were no longer safe. The enemy had left, but not everything was gone. Some things stayed behind. Creatures, machines, hunters. Reed ducked into a broken tunnel, holding the girl close. It was dark inside. His helmet light flickered. The girl made no sound, but Reed felt her fingers tighten around his armor. He looked at her. "You're brave," he said. "Braver than me." Suddenly his scanner beeped. Movement. Behind them. Reed turned off the light and held his breath. His eyes adjusted to the dark. He saw a shadow move behind broken pipes. Then another. He heard them. Not footsteps. Crawling, scraping claws on metal. One hissed. Reed knew what it was. They were called carrion crawlers, left behind by the enemy to eat the dead. But they didn't care who was dead or alive. They would smell her. And him. He took a slow step back. Then another, holding the girl tighter, but a pipe gave way beneath his foot. The sound echoed down the tunnel. The crawlers hissed again, louder now. Reed ran. He sprinted through the tunnel, turning left, then right, not stopping. The girl held on, eyes wide with silent fear. The crawlers chased them, their sharp limbs scraping metal, their mouths full of acid and bone dust. Reed threw a grenade behind him. It exploded. Flames blocked the path, but one of the creatures jumped, through on fire, but still chasing. Reed reached the next level of the tunnel, a shaft leading down, no choice. He jumped. They landed in cold water. The girl gasped. Reed held her head above the surface. The crawler screamed behind them, falling and hitting the wall with a sickening crack. Silence. Reed pulled them out of the water and found a narrow side path, once used for emergency exits. It was old, rusted, but it was safe. For now. They rested. Reed gave her water. She looked at him, confused, but took small sips. Then, without warning, she reached into her pocket and pulled out something. A glowing crystal. She held it up to him. He didn't know what it was. She pointed to her chest, then the crystal, then she pointed to him. Reed understood. Her family had given it to her, and now she was giving it to him. He took it slowly. "Thank you," he said. She nodded, then closed her eyes and leaned against him. She trusted him, but Reed knew the danger was not over. The tunnel led to the surface, but through a blocked zone full of biomines and traps. It had been marked unpassable. His scanner showed only one path open, one chance. He looked down at the sleeping child. "We go through hell tomorrow," he whispered. She didn't hear, but he knew. He wasn't going to fail this time. The tunnel was silent, but Captain Reed didn't trust silence anymore. He moved carefully, holding the small alien child close to his chest. She was awake now, but quiet. She looked around with wide eyes, trying to be brave. Her small arms wrapped around his neck. Every sound made her flinch. Reed scanned the map on his broken wrist display. Only one path was clear. A long maintenance tunnel filled with biomines. It had been locked down years ago. No one ever used it. But it was the only way to reach the surface. "Shortcut through hell," Reed whispered. He placed the girl down gently on a dry patch of metal floor. Her legs were still weak. She looked up at him, waiting. He knelt in front of her. "Listen," he said slowly, pointing to his boots, then hers. "Step where I step. No left, no right." She didn't understand his words, but she understood his voice. She nodded. Reed stepped forward first. Click. His boot touched a pressure plate. He didn't move. Sweat rolled down his back. The mine system hadn't been deactivated. He slowly stepped back. The plate reset. "This is going to be slow," he muttered. He looked at the girl again. She was watching his every move. Reed reached into his backpack and took out a tiny blue disc, an old Earth Army tool used to find heat signatures. He tossed it ahead. Nothing. Then he tossed one to the right. Flash of red light. Boom! A mine exploded. Flames filled part of the tunnel. The girl covered her ears, but didn't scream. She was learning. She was brave. Step by step, Reed mapped the path. Forward. Pause. Scan. Step again. The girl copied him exactly. It took over 2 hours to move 30 meters. Twice they stopped to drink water and rest. Reed's legs ached. His arms trembled, but he didn't complain. He had a mission now. Not orders, not duty, just honor. At last, they reached a metal door at the end of the tunnel. Reed checked the control panel. Broken. He sighed and dropped his bag. Then he removed the side panel and looked inside. Wires, circuits, half were fried. He looked at the girl. "Can you help?" She tilted her head, then stepped forward. Her small fingers touched a silver socket. She closed her eyes. For a moment, the socket glowed blue. Reed stared. She wasn't just a survivor. She was something else, special. The door slid open with a loud hiss. Reed smiled. Nice trick. They stepped into an old subway platform, long, dark, and covered in dust. Reed remembered this place from old war files. It had been used during the first attacks on Virex 9. Soldiers had hidden here. Most had died. He heard static in his ear. The comms were back. "This is Captain Reed broadcasting on secure channel," he said. "Requesting emergency evac. I have a living alien child. Repeat, child is alive. Need assistance." Nothing. Then a voice answered. "Reed, this is Liu. You crazy bastard, where are you?" "Sub-level B, Sector 12. Heading to Shaft Tower now. Evac. Ship is waiting at the tower. 15 minutes. You can't miss it." "I won't. Command knows." "No." Liu paused. "I'll stall them. Just get there." Reed smiled. Sergeant Liu had always been a good man. The girl touched Reed's hand and pointed at a broken wall. There was something drawn there. Symbols. Pictures. She pressed her hand against them. Suddenly the floor trembled. From behind the wall, a giant noise echoed. Metal scraping, something moving, a forgotten elevator system. It still worked. They stepped onto the platform. The machine groaned. Lights flickered. Reed placed the girl behind him and raised his weapon. The lift began to rise, but halfway up, it stopped. Red lights flashed. A robotic voice spoke. "Unauthorized presence detected." A defense turret dropped from the ceiling. Reed grabbed the girl and rolled behind a crate. Bullets exploded into the wall beside them. "Stay here," he shouted. The girl curled up, covering her head. Reed peeked out and fired twice. One shot hit the turret's lens, but it didn't stop. He ducked back. "Come on, think." He spotted a power cable running along the wall. He ripped off his last explosive charge, tied it to his knife, and threw it across the room. The blade stuck in the cable. Boom. The turret sparked and died. The elevator groaned and started moving again. Reed rushed to the girl. She wasn't crying. She looked at him with awe. The elevator reached the surface. They stepped out into blinding light. The sky was no longer black, but red. Enemy ships hovered above, setting fire to anything left. Reed's eyes scanned for the evac ship. There, at the edge of the landing zone. Lou stood outside, waving. Reed ran. Suddenly, a group of machines dropped from the enemy ship, small drones, armed with plasma guns. They weren't here to capture. They were here to erase everything. Reed turned to shield the girl. Liu fired from behind cover. Reed shot one drone, then another, but a third shot hit him in the side. He grunted in pain and fell. The girl screamed. Liu ran forward, grabbing the girl and firing at the drones. "Reed!" he shouted. Reed struggled to his feet. He picked up his weapon again and limped forward, blood pouring down his side. One last drone flew straight toward the girl. Reed threw himself in front of it and fired. Boom! The drone exploded. The shockwave threw them back. Reed hit the ground hard. Everything was spinning. Smoke, fire, voices yelling. Strong hands lifted him. He saw Liu's face above him. "You did it, man. You crazy, stubborn hero. You did it." Reed looked to the side. The girl sat in the evac ship, wrapped in a blanket. She reached out to him. Then everything went black. Darkness. Captain Reed opened his eyes to dim lights and the soft hum of engines. He was alive. His chest ached. His side was bandaged. His armor was gone, replaced with a simple med suit. He tried to sit up. Pain shot through his ribs. "Easy," a voice said. Sergeant Liu stood beside the bed, arms crossed. "You got lucky. That plasma bolt almost fried your liver." Reed groaned. "Where?" "You're on the evac ship. Safe. We took off just after you passed out." Reed's eyes scanned the room. "Where is she?" Liu smiled. "She's fine. A bit shaken, but nothing serious. She's with the med team." Reed relaxed, but not for long. Liu's face turned serious. "Reed, Command isn't happy." Reed sat up slowly. "I broke protocol, I know. You disobeyed a full retreat order, risked exposure in a dead zone, and brought an alien aboard without clearance. I saved a child." "I know," Liu said, "and the crew agrees with you, but Command, they're sending an inspection ship to take her." Reed's eyes darkened. "Take her where?" "They won't say. Classified." Reed's fists clenched. "She's just a child." Liu nodded. "Then we better find out why she matters so much." Later that day, Reed stepped into the med bay. The girl sat on a bed, drawing shapes on the wall with her fingers. Soft light followed her touch, blue lines, glowing symbols. They moved like they were alive. Reed knelt beside her. She looked up and smiled. He smiled back. "You doing okay?" She didn't answer, but she placed a small, glowing shape in his hand, a spiral of light. Then it faded. "She trusts you," said a voice. Reed turned. It was Dr. Amelia Grant, the ship's medic. "I've been running scans," she said. "Her body, it's not just alien, it's advanced." Advanced. Her cells regenerate faster than anything I've seen. Her nervous system connects to tech naturally. She can interface with machines just by touching them. Reed remembered the wall, the elevator. "She's not just a survivor," he said. "She's a key," Dr. Grant nodded. "Maybe to something we don't understand yet." The inspection ship arrived 1 hour later. Black, cold, unmarked. 3 officers stepped aboard. No names, no greetings. They walked straight to the med bay. Reed stood in their path. One of them, a tall man with silver eyes, spoke. "Step aside, Captain. This isn't your concern. She's under my protection. Not anymore." Reed didn't move. The man sighed. "You disobeyed direct orders. That gives us full authority to remove all subjects involved." "She's not a subject. She's a child. She's an asset." Reed's blood boiled. Before things could explode, Liu stepped in. "Let's not do this here. You want her? Tell us why." The officer paused, then finally spoke. "She's part of Project Dawnlight." Reed frowned. "What is that?" "A classified program. Years ago, our scientists planted special genetic codes on alien worlds, designed to grow slowly, hide in plain sight. If one of those hosts survived the war, it could carry data, weapon blueprints, star maps." "You used a living child as a databank," Reed growled. The officer didn't blink. "That child is not alive in the same way you understand. She's a carrier. She was never meant to survive." The girl peeked from behind the door. Her eyes met Reed's, and in that moment, he made his choice. "You're not taking her," Reed said. The officer raised a hand. 2 black-armored guards stepped forward. Liu drew his sidearm. "Back off." Reed moved toward the girl, placing himself between her and the agents. "She's not some tool," Reed said. "She laughed. She cried. She held my hand in the fire. That's not a program. That's a soul." "We'll remove the data, Captain," the officer said coldly. "Even if it kills her." Reed stepped back slowly, keeping his body between the agents and the girl. "I'm warning you," he said, voice steady. "You'll have to go through me." The room was silent. Then the ship shook violently. Alarms blared. Warning, external breach detected. Everyone turned. Liu tapped into the system. "We've got company." On the screen, a ship unlike anything human or alien, black metal, bone-like edges. It hovered just outside the hull. "It's them," the officer whispered. Reed turned. "Them? The enemy who created the virus. They know she's alive. They've come to collect her." Reed stared at the girl. She was trembling. "No," he whispered. "She's not going with them." The enemy ship launched drones, beasts made of metal and bone. They didn't fly. They clawed their way through the vacuum and slammed into the hull. Reed and Liu rushed toward the armory. "We need to hold them off," Liu said. "I'll get her to the escape pod." Reed replied. "You'll never make it alone." "I don't care. I won't let them touch her." The beasts ripped through the corridors. Screams echoed across the ship. Crew fought with rifles and blades, but the enemy didn't bleed. They crawled like insects, fast, silent, hungry. Reed picked up the girl. She clung to him. He ran through smoke-filled halls, turning corners, dodging fire. Behind him, metal claws slammed against walls. One of the beasts spotted them and charged. Reed turned and fired. The bullets bounced off its armor. It leapt and was blown away by a grenade. Liu stood behind. Reed holding the pin. "I told you you're not doing this alone." They reached the escape pod. Reed placed the girl inside. She looked at him, confused. He didn't speak, but she saw his face. Tears. He gave her the glowing crystal, the one she gave him before. "Keep it safe," he said. Then he closed the hatch. The pod launched. The ship shook again. Fire burst from the walls. Reed and Liu stood back to back, firing at the creatures crawling from the ceiling. The girl's pod flew silently through space, heading toward a hidden human outpost. Reed smiled through the smoke. "She's free," he said. Liu nodded. "Let's finish this." In deep space, silence isn't quiet. It hums. The escape pod drifted far from the battlefield now, its engines off, its systems in sleep mode. Inside, the small alien girl sat curled in a thermal blanket. Stars floated outside the glass dome, but her eyes were not on them. She was staring at the glowing spiral in her hands. The gift Captain Reed had returned to her. It pulsed softly. Then, for the first time, it blinked in a rhythm, like a signal. Far away in a hidden human outpost built into the side of a frozen asteroid, a lone technician looked up from his console. "Whoa," he whispered. A signal appeared on his screen. Foreign but beautiful. A sequence of glowing spirals and curves, like writing made of light. It wasn't just data. It was alive. He activated the emergency channel. "Commander, you need to see this." Back aboard the destroyed evac ship, flames still roared. In the halls, Captain Reed and Sergeant Liu moved through broken doors, stepping over wreckage and twisted bodies. They had survived the beast attack, but barely. Liu leaned on a metal pipe, catching his breath. "She got away. That's what matters." Reed nodded. His face was bruised, uniform burned, but his eyes still burned with purpose. Then came the whisper of a voice through static. "Captain." "Reed. Do you copy?" Reed tapped his comm. "This is Reed. This is Outpost Theta 5. We've recovered your pod. The girl is safe." Reed closed his eyes. "Thank you. But there's more. Something's happening." "What do you mean?" "She sent out a signal. We traced it. It's waking up old systems. Ancient ones. Ones we thought were dead." Reed glanced at Liu. "You're saying she's activating something?" "Yes, sir. And it's not just tech. It's calling something. Calling others." Back at Theta 5, the girl stood in a glowing chamber surrounded by scientists, soldiers, and engineers. She didn't seem afraid. The spiral she held floated now, spinning in the air, projecting holograms around the room. Star, maps, old warships, and strange temples built into moons. Dr. Amelia Grant, now reassigned to the outpost, stood at the edge of the room with her arms crossed. These are memories, hers, or maybe from the ones who made her. The base commander, a hard-eyed woman named Talon, stepped forward. She's broadcasting to something far beyond our systems. What happens if they answer? Grant looked at the girl. Let's hope they're not the ones who built those beasts. Meanwhile, in the dead zone of space where Reed and Liu drifted in their damaged ship, more trouble stirred. A second enemy vessel appeared. Larger, older, but not empty. It opened slowly, like a flower made of metal, and something stepped out, not a drone, not a beast, a figure, tall, silent, wrapped in a cloak of wires. It walked across the floating wreckage like it was solid ground. A dark crown rested on its head. Reed stared out the cracked window. What is that? Liu looked through his scope. It's not scanning as a life form. Because it's not alive, Reed said. It's a goddamn relic. The figure raised one arm. The remains of the evac ship began pulling toward it, torn by invisible force. Reed grabbed the flight controls. We have to move now. Their ship spun, engines groaning. Back at Theta 5, the signal grew stronger. It was now visible from every screen. "Sir," said one technician, eyes wide. "There's something buried beneath the outpost." "What?" Commander Talon snapped. "A structure. It's been there longer than the asteroid itself. The girls. Signal, it's waking it up." Suddenly the floor shook. Everyone grabbed onto consoles and walls. The ice beneath the base cracked, and then a massive ring of metal rose from the snow. A buried alien facility, pulsing with life for the first time in 10,000 years. The girl stepped forward. She didn't look surprised. She walked straight to the edge of the structure as lights followed her steps. "It's like she's done this before," Grant whispered. "No," Commander Talon said, frowning. "It's like it was waiting for her." Meanwhile, Reed and Liu reached the edge of human space. Their ship barely held together. Alarms blared. Sparks flew. Come on," Reed growled, trying to keep the engine alive. Behind them, the cloaked figure drifted calmly through space, moving faster than physics should allow. "Where's the nearest gate?" Liu shouted. "Too far. We'll never make it before it catches us." "Then we need a distraction." Liu looked at Reed. "No," Reed said instantly. "You know it's the only way. You jump, I jump." Liu handed Reed a data chip. "This has her signal. Take it to Theta 5. Find out what she's really carrying. I'll hold this thing off." Reed's hands tightened on the controls. "You better make it back, Liu." Liu smirked. "Hey, you still owe me dinner." Then he kicked open the emergency hatch, pulled the escape lever, and launched himself in the opposite direction, firing flares and heat bombs behind him. The enemy relic followed. Reed jumped to hyperspace. One blink. Gone. At Theta 5, the underground structure fully awakened. Gates opened. Machines rose from the ice, silent and clean, but they didn't attack. They waited. The girl stepped to the center platform. The spiral of light hovered above her. And then a voice spoke. Old. Gentle. Not human. It echoed through every speaker. "Daughter, you have returned." Everyone froze. Reed's ship entered orbit above the asteroid seconds later. He rushed into the control room. "What happened?" he asked. Grant turned to him. Pale. "She didn't just carry knowledge." "What did she carry?" "She carried a signal for resurrection." The signal echoed through the stars. Ancient, heavy. "Daughter, you have returned." Inside Theta 5, silence took over. Scientists, soldiers, and crew stood frozen. The alien girl, glowing faintly, stood on the platform surrounded by rising machines. Lights ran along the floor and up the walls. Symbols appeared, spinning, shifting. Even the computers couldn't read them. Captain Reed's voice broke the silence. "Who are you speaking?" "To?" The girl looked up, her soft eyes calm. Then the voice answered. "The last key has awakened. The gate must open. The moon must rise." Commander Talon stared at the monitors. "What moon?" One of the techs pointed. "There's something coming." Through the star maps, a hidden location revealed itself. A single word appeared on every screen. Xemra, Dr. Grant whispered. "The forbidden moon." Reed stepped forward. "Someone explain. What is Xemra?" Grant took a breath. "It was legend, a world locked in time, said to hold weapons and knowledge from before the Great Fall." "Why was it locked?" "Because it was too powerful. Even the ancients feared it." Commander Talon crossed her arms. "And now it's waking up, because of her." The girl stepped off the platform. The machines didn't follow. They shut down behind her, silent again. Grant spoke quietly. "We didn't save a survivor. We rescued a signal, a living key." Talon ordered, "Prepare the long-range ships. We leave for Xemra." Reed stepped in front of her. "Wait, we don't know what's there." Talon didn't blink. "We have to reach it before the others do." "Others?" She pointed at the screen. 3 ships were already en route. One was human, military black ops. The other 2 were alien. Reed narrowed his eyes. "So it's a race." Across the stars, a war council formed. In a dark station above a red sun, the Yultari command gathered. One of them, a cloaked commander with 6 golden eyes, stood tall. "She lives," he said. "The child of signal breathes," another commander hissed. "She must not reach Xemra, not before we do." "But the key has been activated. We can no longer stop it. We must control it." The Yultari began preparing their fleet. Back on Theta 5, Reed met with Grant privately. "We shouldn't take her to that moon," he said. "If she's the key, they'll come for her." "They're already coming," Grant replied. "But if we leave her behind, they'll destroy wherever she hides." Reed looked at the girl. She was drawing stars again, shapes she'd seen in dreams. She smiled at Reed and held up one. It was Xemra, drawn perfectly. "She's not afraid," Grant said. "But maybe we should be." Within hours, the human fleet moved out. 3 ships, 1 mission: protect the girl. As the lead vessel, the Skyward Echo, jumped to light speed, alarms began to scream. "Incoming vessel, unregistered, hostile." A Black Ops human ship dropped out of hyperspace without warning. Its cannons powered up. Commander Talon ordered shields. Reed rushed to the girl's chamber. "Stay down. Stay quiet." But the girl stood, calm, focused. Then she placed her hand on the wall, and the ship responded. The Skyward Echo systems lit up, faster, smoother, more powerful than before. "Who's controlling the ship?" shouted an officer. "She is," said Reed. The ship turned faster than any human design should allow, dodging enemy fire, countering with precise lasers. The Black Ops ship tried to lock weapons, but its systems glitched. Lights flickered. On board, the agents screamed as their computers turned against them. "She's overriding their code," Grant gasped. "She's protecting us," Reed added. The enemy ship broke apart, without a single missile fired. But it wasn't over. A massive shadow appeared behind the wreck, the cloaked relic. The one that chased Reed and Liu. It was here, and it was opening. Inside the relic ship, a dark figure stepped forward. The herald of the old builders. Half machine, half memory. It moved with gravity no one understood. It raised one hand, and from space, it spoke. "Return the key. The moon must not rise." Reed shouted, "Go faster." The girl reached out again, and the stars bent. In front of them, a wormhole opened. It was her doing. They jumped through. Just as a dark energy beam shredded the space behind them, they crashed into orbit above a gray, ruined planet. Zemra. It was there, dead, but not silent. All systems went quiet. Even the ship's lights dimmed. "Everything's offline," Talon growled. "Except her," Grant said. The girl stepped forward. "Open it," Reed said gently. The girl nodded. She floated. Yes, floated, off the floor. Light surrounded her. She reached her hand toward the planet, and Zemra responded. Giant cracks opened across its surface. Hidden towers rose. Buried ships came alive. A gate formed in the sky, huge, ancient. The humans stared. Reed whispered. She didn't just wake. A signal. She woke a world. Far above, 3 fleets entered orbit. Yultari ships, human black ops, and something else, darker. The race was over. Everyone had arrived. But the real war was just beginning. The ships circled Zemra like vultures. 3 mighty fleets, Yultari, human black ops, and the relic armada, silent, deadly, ancient. On the surface, the skyward echo rested beside a massive gate now pulsing with light. The alien girl stood still in front of it. Her hands were at her sides, her head tilted up, listening to something only she could hear. Captain Reed and Dr. Grant stood behind her, weapons drawn, but they knew they couldn't protect her with bullets. She had something inside her no one understood. Above, the leaders of each fleet sent down their demands. Return the key. Turn over the child. Do not enter the gate. Commander Talon answered all of them with the same message. Try. The first attack came fast. Yultari drop pods screamed through the sky, glowing red. They landed in a circle around the gate. Dozens of tall, sharp-armored alien soldiers stepped out, each one trained to kill without mercy. Reed aimed his rifle. Here we go. The girl didn't move. The Yultari moved in. Closer, closer. One stepped forward, shouting in an ancient tongue. Then, she spoke. Her voice was soft, but the world heard it. Stop. Time froze. Not just for a second. Everything stopped. Wind, dust, lights. Even the Yultari soldiers, frozen mid-step, eyes wide, trapped in stillness. Reed blinked. What just happened? Dr. Grant slowly turned to the girl. She changed. The laws. The girl's eyes were glowing now. Her body hovered an inch off the ground, not floating, held by something unseen and from the sky. Another signal came down. In space, the relic armada pulsed. The herald, the dark figure inside the lead ship, tilted its head. She has awakened the first tongue, it said. Behind it, black ships unfolded like petals, preparing to descend. On Zemra's surface, the frozen soldiers began to move again, backwards. Their bodies shook. One screamed, not from pain, but from memory. They dropped their weapons. Some fell to their knees. Others began to cry, remembering things they were never meant to know. Reed watched them collapse. She didn't hurt them, he said. She reminded them. Of what? Talon asked, stunned. Grant whispered. Of who they used to be. Then came the second wave. This time it wasn't soldiers, it was machines. Black Ops human bots, sent without souls. Fast, smart, cold. They didn't fear memories. They didn't remember anything. They charged forward. Reed lifted his rifle. These won't stop. But the girl turned to him. You don't have to protect me. And for the first time, she ran. Not away, toward the bots. She sprinted like lightning, barefoot across stone and metal. The bots opened fire, bullets cutting through the air, but before the shots hit her, they bent. Every bullet spun away like metal, remembering it wasn't meant to kill. She reached the center of the gate. Her hands rose. She screamed, not in pain, but in power. The gate opened, not a door, A sky, through it, floated a world of gold and silver light, towers upside down, rivers that flowed upward, machines that grew like trees. It was not a weapon. It was a memory. Zemra was not a prison. It was a mind, and she had unlocked it. From the sky, the final fleet descended, the relics, silent, watching, waiting. Then the herald came down, floating, tall, face covered in cracked metal and glowing eyes. Reed raised his weapon. The herald didn't flinch. It spoke in the old voice, "Child of the spiral, return. You belong to us." The girl stepped forward. "No," she said. "You were built to open the gate. I was born to end the war." The herald stepped closer. "You do not understand what you carry." "I do," she whispered. "It's everything you tried to erase." Then she reached out her hand, and the herald froze. The oldest being in the galaxy, locked in place, its arms trembled, its voice cracked. "You have become too much." She walked up to it. "You made me to be your tool," she said. "But humans gave me something else." "What?" She looked back at Reed, at Grant, at Talon, then turned back to the herald. "Choice." The herald screamed, not in fear, but in failure. Its body cracked open. Light spilled out. The machines in orbit broke. Formation, some powered down. Others turned away. The relic armada lost its leader in a whisper. The gate now stood wide open. Inside, the full knowledge of the lost galaxy waited. Power, history, truth. The girl looked at the humans around her. "I'm not just the key," she said. "I'm the door too." Reed stepped forward. "You don't have to go alone," she smiled. "You followed me through hell. I'm not leaving anyone behind." She reached out her hand. Reed took it. Together they walked through the gate. Behind them, Zemra began to shift. Not breaking, becoming. The gate stayed open. Beyond it, there was no sky, no ground, just floating cities, glowing with strange energy. Ships drifted like leaves, buildings moved like they were alive. Captain Reed had never seen anything like it. He stood beside the alien girl, his boots hovering inches above a floor made of light. Dr. Grant whispered, This isn't a place." "What is it then?" Commander Talon asked. Grant's eyes were wide. "It's a memory. A living memory." The girl turned to them. "Zemra isn't a world." She pointed at the heart of the space. "It's a mind, and it remembers me." In the distance, towers began to light up, one by one. Circles of gold formed in the air, showing images, not of the present, but of the past. Millions of years ago, images flashed. A council of many alien races standing together in peace, giant machines moving like gods across worlds. And in the center, a child, not born but made. She looked like the girl, but not quite. "They created me once," the girl said. "Or someone like me." "Why?" Reed asked. "To stop a war they couldn't win." More images played, the great collapse, ships breaking in orbit, cities torn from planets, species wiped out. One by one the council members fell, and the child, she was hidden, frozen in light, locked inside a signal. "She was put to sleep," said Dr. Grant. "And now she's awake," said Talon. The girl looked down at her hands. "But I'm not her." "You carry her," Grant said gently. "But you are yourself." Suddenly, something moved. The memory space rippled. Dozens of tall figures appeared, transparent, glowing. They had no faces. But they bowed to the girl. One stepped forward. A voice echoed inside their minds. "You have returned, Queen of the Last Order." Reed stepped in front of her. "She's not your queen." But the girl raised her hand. "It's okay." She looked at the tall figure. "I'm not her," she said again. "I'm something new." The figure paused, then nodded. "Then we serve the new path. The galaxy waits." From the floating platforms, ships began to wake up. Hundreds of them. Old, vast, alive, they hovered quietly, facing outward. Ready. Are they warships? Talon asked. Grant shook her head. Not just warships, they're guardians. These were made to protect, not destroy. The girl turned to Reed. I can stop the ones coming. All of them. Reed looked around. You mean the relics? She nodded. And anyone else who tries to control the galaxy again. Suddenly, alarms sounded, not from inside the memory world, from outside. The gate pulsed, a warning. Above Zemra, the Black Ops fleet was regrouping. They had brought in something new, something huge, a war core station. It had the power to destroy planets. Back inside the gate world, a golden console rose from the light. It faced the girl. A voice said, the final choice. Unlock the crown, take the power, lead the galaxy. Talon whispered. She can control everything. But Reed stepped close. You don't have to. The girl's hand hovered above the crown. She stared at it, then slowly pulled back. No, she said. The machines paused. I won't rule. That's not why I was saved. She turned to the glowing figures. I need your help, but I won't be your queen. Then what are you? She smiled. I'm the child they feared, and the voice they need. The sky shifted. The memory world moved behind her. She stepped through the gate again. Reed, Grant, and Talon followed. Back on Zemra, the air had changed. The ground shook. A light rose from the center of the planet, up into orbit. One of the ships from the memory world followed, then another, then dozens. Above, the war core charged its weapon. Inside it, the Black Ops commander gave the order. Fire. The light from the station began to glow red, but before it fired, the girl spoke again, louder than before, and not just with sound, with will. Stop. The station froze. Its lights flickered, its weapon powered down. Reed watched from the ground, stunned. What did she do? She didn't fight it, Grant said. She convinced it. The girl turned to the sky and sent one final signal. I'm not your weapon, I'm your warning. Stand down, or I will remind you what Zemra remembers. In moments, all three fleets began retreating. No more fighting, no more chasing. They finally understood. She was not a target. She was not a tool. She was the voice of the forgotten, and now she was free. Reed stood beside her on the quiet plain. What happens now? She smiled. I rebuild. Zemra? No, she said. The galaxy. The skies were quiet. Zemra, the once forgotten world, now glowed softly like a living star. The fleets were gone. No more bombs. No more warnings, but the galaxy was watching. Billions of eyes, hundreds of worlds. Everyone had heard what happened. Everyone saw the girl who stood between destruction and peace. The child who had once hidden in a human pilot's arms was now the center of everything. Inside the ancient halls of Zemra, a decision waited. Captain Reed stood with her beneath a sky of silver stars, floating in place. Dr. Grant, Talon, and the remaining crew stood back. No one spoke. Before them floated the ancient command matrix, a machine older than memory, a system that could rewrite entire worlds, planets, politics, time itself, and it had only one user. Her. The memory beings appeared again, ghostly figures from the past, keepers of the First Order. One stepped forward. Its voice echoed, with your voice, we can restore what was lost. You can command the galaxy. You can rebuild it all. Reed looked at the girl. She didn't move. Is that what you want? He asked her. She turned to him, quiet. Then, slowly, she shook her head. No. The memory keepers paused. You were made for this. I was made for war, she answered. But war didn't raise me. Reed watched her, eyes steady. You were raised by us, he said. The girl nodded. By humans. By people who choose. Who hope. Who care. She raised her hand. The matrix glowed. Not red. Not gold. But white. New. Then what will you do? One of the memory beings asked. She looked into the light and said, I'll give the galaxy back to itself. With that, she rewrote the command system. Not to rule, but to release. Every locked world was freed. Every hidden archive was opened. Secrets, once used to build weapons, were turned into medicine. Technology once used to kill, now healed. The memories of the old war, she didn't delete them, she shared them, so no one would forget again. From the edges of space, new signals began to rise. Small ships. Voices, not from armies, but from people. People who had once hidden in fear, now stepping into the light. Zemra began to shift. The towers sank, the gates closed, its job was done. The living mind of the world smiled through the last message it sent. She chose not to rule, so we will follow. Reed, Grunt, and Talon stood with her as the world around them faded into calm wind and stone. The girl, no longer glowing, no longer afraid, turned to them. I want to go home, she said. Reed smiled. Earth? She nodded. They boarded the Skyward Echo one last time. As they lifted off, Zemra disappeared behind them, silent once again, but the stars ahead sparkled with change. Back on Earth, the story spread. They didn't call her a queen or a god or a weapon. They called her something simple. Hope. Years later, children would ask, is it true that one little girl changed the galaxy? And parents would answer, yes. Because someone believed in her when no one else would. In the end, she didn't need a throne. She didn't need power. She didn't even need a name. She just needed someone to stand beside her and help her choose what kind of world she wanted to build, and humanity gave her that.